Said Rebbe Yehuda, at first they would uproot and throw the Kalayim before them. When the number of transgressors increased, they would uproot and throw the Kalayim upon the roads. Finally, they instituted that they declare the entire field ownerless. On the 15th of Adar, money changers would sit in the province. On the 25th, they would sat in the temple, and from the time they sat in the temple, they would commence to seize collateral. From whom did they seize collateral? From the Levium and Yisraelim, proselytes and free slaves, but not from women, slaves, nor minors. However, in the case of a minor whose father has commenced to contribute the half shekel on his behalf, the father should not cease to do so. For the sake of peace, they did not seize collateral from the Kohanim. Said Rebbe Yehuda, Ben Bukri testified in Yavda that any Kohen who contributes to half shekel has not sinned. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai replied to Ben Bukri, it is not so. Rather, any Kohen who does not contribute to half shekel has sinned. But the Kohanim interpret the following verse for their own benefit. Every meal offering of a Kohen shall be merely burnt. Shall be entirely burnt. It may not be eaten. If the Omer offering, the 2 loaves and the panim bread are ours, they may be eaten.
Okay. How may they be eaten? Yeah, that's the question that the Kohanim said, and it was obviously under faulty reasoning, because really they do have to contribute. Okay, Mishna Hey, Afal Pi Shamru Einu Mashlim Nashlim Ba'avadim L'Katanim Im Shaklu Makavim Miyadan. So even though we just said before that we don't take collateral from women and slaves and from children, we don't force them to pay. Nonetheless, if they want to contribute, we accept from them. It's legitimate. They're allowed to contribute from their own free will if they want to. Anochri v'akusi shishaku. However, non-Jews and kusim, and this is going according to a Tana who holds that the Samaritans are completely not Jewish. We do not accept donations from them to the temple treasury. This is an interesting point, and it gives rise to some interesting questions in halacha, like when you're fundraising for various different tzedakahs. Are you allowed to go to non-Jewish donors? Are you allowed to accept money from non-Jewish donors for things like building a shul or whatever? So these are interesting questions that we often come across. Anyway,
what's the halakha on that? Are you allowed to take from them?
It depends. Some things you can and some things you can't. So I'm not qualified to give you an answer on that.
Well, okay.
Okay. So ein makablin mi yadan kinei zavin v'kinei zavos v'kinei yoldos v'chatas v'ashamos. And furthermore, if a non-Jew comes to the mikdash and says, "Hey, I want to bring a korban of a zav or a zava or the yoledes or a chatas or an asham," any of these which are brought as obligatory offerings, we don't accept from them. But what a non-Jew can do is he can bring a korban which is an adava. Yeah. Something that just says, "I want to say thanks to God." That's it. He comes and he wants to bring an ola, we accept it. Okay? With the general rule being anything that can be brought voluntarily is we accept from non-Jews. That's fine, because they don't have any fear of him as far as sacrifice is concerned. So chatas has to be brought for a specific chet. So we don't allow them to bring a chatas because they're just not obligated in there. And you can't put something on the mizbech. That's not a chiyuv. Okay. Okay. So this is when Ezra is coming to build the Beit Sheni. He says to the Kusim that he doesn't want to accept their donations because this is I'm sorry, you're not part of the You are this is for us, and it's our first that we're going to build the mikdash. And sorry, thanks for the offer, but really this is an internal affair. Okay. Mishna ba ve'elu shechayvim bekalbon. Okay, kalbon. I don't know if you remember this from the last time we learned it, but the kalbon is basically a brokerage fee.
Right.
So if somebody comes with a full shekel, which is in the Mishnah called a seller, and they want to contribute their chatzi shekel, so either they're going to have to go to the money changer, they have to go to the money changer, and the money changer will take a fee, which is the kalbon. So you'll have to give him a seller plus a kalbon in order to get back 2 chatzi shekels, which in the language of the Mishnah is called a shekel. So 2 shekels make a seller, and it's a little confusing because what the Torah calls a chatzi shekel is in the Mishnah called a shekel.
Right. Okay. Was there a set fee for the money changer? Was there a set fee for all money changers, or they could do whatever they wanted?
The standard was the kalbon, and we'll see how much the Mishnah is going to tell us how much a kalbon is. Okay. So here, hang on. So either you're going to go to the money changer and you're going to have to pay the fee to the money changer, or you're going to give your seller to the mikdash. And now what happens if you say, well, if 2 people get together and say, okay, listen, let's save ourselves the kalbon. I'll give you I've got a seller. You give me a chatzi shekel, and we'll go both put in the seller, and that covers us both. So we save ourselves a kalbon. So the mikdash said, no, we're going to make sure that everyone pays the kalbon. Okay. Because you would either you're going to pay it to the money changer, or you're going to pay it to the mikdash.
Yeah, either one, right?
Okay. This is only for Leviim and Israelim and for Gerim and for freed slaves, but not Kohanim, Nashim, and also not women and slaves and children who are the Kohanim, because we don't take them because the same reason as before, because it's Darkei Shalom. They're already contributing quite enough by giving us their service. And women slaves and children, because they're not obligated in the shekel in the first place.
Right.
Hashokel al yidei kohen. Now, what happens if somebody makes a contribution for himself and a kohen, or for himself and his wife? Or well, not his wife, because his wife would probably be included in him, but for himself and for a woman, maybe his sister. Okay, or al yidei eved, or he wants to contribute for himself and for a slave or for a katan. Now he's pater from the kalbon. When we say pater, does he have to? So in other words, if he's just giving a machatzis a shekel on behalf of somebody else, he doesn't have to pay the kalbon at all. Okay, for either the kohen or any of these other exempt groups, then he doesn't have to pay a kalbon on them. Now what happens? Im shakal al yadova al yadei chavero. So if he's making the contribution for himself and for his friend, then he still has to pay 1 kalbon. Okay, why is that? As we said before, he has to pay 1 kalbon for this, because that would have been the exchange fee. So if you and I decide to go to the mikdash together and we put in 1 seller, just as our joint thing, we still have to put in 1 kalbon between the 2 of us. Rabbi Meir he says, no, both of you are saving yourselves a kalbon, so you should both have to put in. But the halacha doesn't follow Rabbi Meir. And not in selah and not tel shekel. Now, if somebody goes to so this is talking about, even if you have a coin of a machatzis a shekel, and you give that, and if it's just me going by myself, and I go to the mikdash and I give them my machatzis a shekel, and they say, no, what about the kalbon? So you have to pay the kalbon as well, okay? Unless you're one of the exempt groups. But again, if I'm paying for myself and for, let's say, my child who's under bar mitzvah, or under 20, in fact, we said, then if I give 1 seller, I only have to pay 1 kalbon, because that covers myself. I don't need to pay kalbon for my friend. Okay. And in fact, if I'm giving for myself and for you, then I still only have to pay 1 kalbon, except for Rabbi Meir, he says that that's just 2 kalbons. Okay, and not, but now what happens if I come by myself and I've got a seller coin, so I need change. Okay, so first of all, I have to pay. I have to put in my shekel. I have to put in my chatzisa shekel and a kalbon for the money going in. And now that I'm taking change from the mikdash, I also have to pay a kalbon for the brokerage. So it's chayav shnei kalbonos.
This kalbon is really going to the mikdash. It's not going to the money.
Yes, it's all going to the mikdash. No, there's no money changer involved. We've cut him out of the equation. Right. So instead, because what would have happened? I would have gone to the money changer and said, "Can you give me change, please?" And I would have had to pay him a kalbon. So instead of and then I would have come to the mikdash and I would have had to pay them the kalbon as well. So now what's happening is I'm using the temple to give me change. So says the Mishna. Now I have to pay two kalbonos, one for the kalbon that I need to pay anyway, and one for the brokerage.
They didn't have to pay kalbon if they were out before the 25th, correct? That's when they started.
No, you pay the kalbon in any event.
In any event,
it's just that they set up the tables from the 25th onwards.
Okay. I thought it was just from the 25th because all right, we're at the temple. We're here.
No,
now,
it's not like there's an early bird discount.
Right.
And I don't think that's that. No.
Yeah, bring your bird early so you can. Okay. All right. Good.
Okay. Zion hashokel al yidei oni al yidei shcheno al yidei ben iro patur. If I am giving a gift to somebody, typically an oni, so let's say I know that my neighbor is an oni and he can't afford to give them a chatzis, so I say, listen, I'm going to contribute for him. Then I'm patur from the kalbon. I don't know. They say you're doing a mitzvah anyway. Doing something nice for somebody else will let you off from the kalbon. And not just an ani, even if it's just my neighbor, and I'm making a gift to him and I say, I like my neighbor, yeah, your machatzisa shekel has been paid by me, I want that, just because I like you. Or ben iro, or anyone else that I like, if I'm making a gift to them and paying them machatzisa shekel just to be machabed them, I don't have to pay a kalbon. However, if this is no, I'm paying for him and he'll pay me back, then you're not. So then you still have to pay. Then you still have to pay kalbon. Okay, it's only if it's when it's a true gift. I mean, obviously you can do harama and whatever, but this is between you and Hashem, and you know what you need to do.
So I can't go to you as my neighbor and say, listen, I'm so busy. Could do me a favor when you go to the give you makas shekel, you please for one for me also. So you can't do that then.
You can do that, but then I have to say, look, am I going to ask you for the money back? If I am, then I have to put in the kalbon as well. If I'm not, if I say, yeah, forget it, this is on me, I'll do it.
Right.
Then I don't have to pay the kalbon as well.
Right.
And look, the kalbon is not big money. It's not something that people are going to really be trying to get out of. Okay. As we're going to see, so then we move on to another thing which you've actually seen before, fairly recently in Bechoros. Hashutafin shechayvin bekalbon peturin mimase behema, because shechayvin b'mase behema peturin min kalbon. So, whether your brothers or your partners, or it might be that brothers who are partners, who are chayvin bekalbon. So, what does it mean that they're chayvin bekalbon? They were talking about brothers who are in a situation where their father has died and left them an estate, and the question hinges on whether the estate has been divvied up or not. So if it's still all sitting in the father's estate, then on the one hand, all of his animals are still considered one flock, and therefore they're going to be grouped together for Maaseh Behema. And on the other hand, and furthermore, if they're paying the machatzis shekel out of the estate, then it's ki'ilu, the father is paying on behalf of the brothers, and therefore it's going to be pater in kalbon.
Okay.
So you see where this is going to work is that if they're chayav in kalbon, that means that they've already divided up the flocks, and now they're acting as partners. So now then they're doing a business deal, and therefore we're going to have to pay kalbon. But Maaseh Behema, they're going to be pater from because the flocks are separate. and they can't join the two flocks in order to make 10 animals.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So the chayiv in kalbon the pata from masa behema. Ishachayiv in b'masa behema paturin in the kalbon. And when they are chayiv in masa behema because it's still one estate, then they pata from kalbon. Kama hua kalbon. The question we've been waiting to hear. Ma'a kesef. It's one. What's a ma'a of kesef? A ma'a of silver. It's 1/24 of a selah. Okay, and that's it. So it's basically a 1/12 addition onto the machatzis shekel.
You have 1/24th. I have 1/20th.
1/20th. Oh, that's interesting.
The Aramaic equivalent.
No, sorry. I beg your pardon.
Wait.
Divrei Rabbi Meir. This is Rabbi Meir's opinion. Is the ma'a kesef. Chachamim omrim chatzi. They say half of a ma'a kesef, which is 1/48 of a selah. And
it says that the ma is the Aramaic equivalent of the scriptural gerah, which was 1/20th of a selah. However,
that's interesting. That is interesting.
However, since the Mishnaic selah contains 20% more silver than the scriptural scriptural shekel, the Mishnaic mana is invariably referred to as 1/24th of a selah.
There we go.
Now, when the kalbon was worth 1/12 of the half shekel contribution.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Okay.
Good. By the way, note over there. Remember, you once asked me about the word chetzi.
Yes.
There it is at the end of our Mishnah here. The one that we just did. The one that we just did, yes. The one that we just did. There it says.
Right. Right. That's it. Right.
Okay.
I didn't pick that up. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Psachim tes aleph.
One who was contaminated or was on a distant journey and had not observed the first Pesach must observe the second. If he had erred or was prevented and therefore did not observe the first Pesach, he must observe the second. If so, why is it said one who was contaminated or one on a distant journey? Because these are exempt from karas, but those are liable to karas. What is a distant journey? From Modi'in and beyond, or a like distance in any direction. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer says from the threshold of the temple courtyard and beyond. Said Rabbi Yossi, therefore there is a dot over the letter Hey, as if to say not because it is literally distant, but rather from the threshold of the temple courtyard and beyond. What are differences between the first Pesach and the second? The first Pesach comes under the prohibition of it shall not be seen and it shall not be found. Whereas the second Pesach, both matzah and chametz are with him in the house. The first requires the recitation of Hallel during the Pesach's eating, but the second does not require Hallel during its eating. Both require the recitation of Hallel when they are offered. Both are eaten roasted together with matzah and bitter herbs, and both override the Sabbath. Yeah. That's interesting. I just when reading this up, I just remembered that I never really thought about, all right, someone has to do Pesach Sheni, but meanwhile they have this chametz in the house. They're about to do a bedika.
Right.
Like that. Yeah. If the Pesach was offered in a state of contamination.
That's it. We've done 3.
That's it. We finished. Okay.
Erevin. Chesiud.
But he can't have. Can he have chametz? Does he chametz at his Pesach Sheni?
I don't think he eats it on. I mean, he's permitted to, I guess. When he's supposed to eat he's supposed to eat the korban pesach al matzah and merorim. Not I don't think he's allowed to eat it with a loaf of bread. But the ikar here is that he must eat it with matzah and merorim. Not that he's not allowed to eat chametz at the same time, in the same meal even.
Right. That would be very strange to sit eating a piece of bread with.
Yes, it would be.
Reb Aleph, Aked Yud. Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says if a drainage conduit is converted for 4 cubits in the public domain, we may pour water into it on Shabbos. But the Chachamim say even if it runs along a roof or a courtyard for 100 cubits, one may not pour into the opening of the conduit, but he pours from the roof to roof, and the water descends into the conduit. courtyard, and a colonnade combined to total 4 amma. Similarly, 2 balconies that are opposite one another. If some of them made a pit while others did not make a pit, those who made a pit are permitted, but those who did not make a pit are prohibited. And all of the roofs in the town are one domain, provided that one roof is not 10 tefachim higher or lower than the others. These are the words of Reb Meir. But the comments say each is a domain for itself, and Reb Shimon says roofs, courtyards, and karpeos are all one domain. With respect to utensils, which I skipped, with respect, I think I skipped one. Did I? No. With respect to utensils which began the Sabbath in them, but not with respect to utensils which began the Sabbath in the house. Okay. That was it?
That was it.
Yeah.
Orla, Beis Yud.
If leaven of chulin fell into dough and leavened it, and then leaven of truma or leaven of kilah karam fell into it, and it suffices to leaven it, it is forbidden. But Reb Shimon permits. If leaven of chulin and of truma fell into dough, and neither this sufficed to leaven.
Hold on just a second. I think we might have, there are lots of similar Mishnayos.
Do you start
we want to start with Yud, yeah.
Okay. Condiments of 2 or 3 categories of one kind or of 3 are forbidden and combined. And Reb Shimon says 2 or 3 categories of one kind or 2 kinds of one category do not combine. And if leaven of chulin or of truma fell into dough, and neither this sufficed to leaven nor that sufficed to leaven, but together they leaven, Eliezer says, I go after the last. But the sages say whether the forbidden fell in first or last, it never renders forbidden. Excuse me, unless it suffices to leaven.
More?
There's one more.
Yeah.
I just lost where I am. Oh, what did I do? We were in base.
You're base now. You're Ezer Ish Hadira.
You're base. Yotze of Bera was one of the disciples of Beit Shammai, and he said, I asked Rabbi Gamliel the elder when he was standing in the eastern gate, and he said, it never renders forbidden unless it suffices to leaven. We are at Makshirin Vav Hey. There are subcategories of water that which issues from the eye and the ear and the nose, from the mouth, liquid excrement, whether a loose stool or urine, intentionally or unintentionally. Thus, these are the subcategories of blood. Blood of slaughter of a kosher domesticated animal, of a non-domesticated animal, and of fowl, and blood of bloodletting for drinking. Whey is considered like milk, and olive water is considered like oil, since olive water cannot merge without oil. These are the words of Reb Shimon. Reb Meir says, even though there is no oil with it. The blood of a sheretz is like meat. It conveys tumah, but it does not render food susceptible to tumah, and we have nothing else similar to it. The following convey tumah and affect hechsher. The ziva discharge of a zav, his saliva, his semen, and his urine, and a quarter log of blood from a corpse and blood of a nida. Reb Eliezer says semen does not affect hechsher. Reb Elazar ben Azariah says blood of a nida does not affect hechsher, and Reb Simon says blood of a corpse does not affect hechsher. And if it falls on a gourd, it should scrape it off, and the gourd is tahor. The following do not convey tumah, nor do they affect hechsher, sweat, pus, and excrement, and the blood that emerges with them, and the fluids of a child born in the 8th month. Reb Yossi says, except for his blood, and someone who drinks the water of Tiberias, even though the excretion that emerges is clear, blood of slaughter of a domesticated animal, of a non-domesticated animal, and a fowl that are non-kosher, and blood of letting for therapeutic purposes, the Elazar considers this to be tamei. These to be tamei. Shimon ben Elazar says milk of a male is tahor.
And the halacha follows it.
After we finish, let me see, as we finish Bakshir, we're going on to.
Mechshirin goes into Zavim.
I took it out of there.
Arakin Testad.
Okay. If the final day of the 12 months arrived and it was not redeemed, it would become permanently his.
So this is talking
This
about a house in a walled city now.
Right.
So you got 12. He's got exactly 12 months to the day to redeem his house in the walled city. Otherwise, it's going to remain permanently in the other person's possession, even after your bill.
This applies both to the buyer and the recipient of a gift, as it says in perpetuity. Originally, he would hide on the final day of the 12 months so that he should become permanently his. Hillel the elder enacted that he should deposit his money in the chamber and break down the door and enter. Whenever the other one that so desires, he may come and take his money.
You hear what the scam was here.
Right.
The guy who bought it says, it's coming close to the time when he could redeem it, so then he makes himself scarce so that he can't repay. So Hillel Zakin says, no, not so fast.
Whatever is within the wall is treated according to the law of the houses of walled city, and with the exception of the fields. Bermeah says even the fields. And a house built into the city wall, Rabbi Yehuda says it is not treated according to the law of houses of walled cities. Rabbi Shimon says the outer wall is its city wall. A city whose use constituted its wall, and one that was not surrounded by a wall from the time of Yeshua ben Nun, is not treated according to the law of the houses of walled cities. These are the houses of walled cities, 3 courtyards consisting of 2 houses each, surrounded by a wall since the days of Yeshua ben Nun. For example, Od Katra of Tzipora, Kakra of Gush Khalif, Old Yodpes Kamla, Gidod, Kadid, Ono, and Yerushalayim, and the same for all of the other like them. Okay, we're going on to, we have one more. That's it. Yeah, that's it. We only have 2 tomorrow here, so we're going on to Akra.
But coach, we're just finishing the Rechner, so then it's tomorrow.
So we have
Tomorrow.
We have tomorrow, and we have I can't believe I did this. You just said it before.
Oh, from yesterday, of Machshirin is Zabim.
Zabim, that's what it's up. I know my name.
Kiddushin.
Okay, Dalid base.
Gimel Dalid.
All who are prohibited to enter into the congregation are allowed to intermarry.
Hold on. We're in Gimel Dalid in Kiddushin.
Gimel Dalid?
Yeah.
You're in the wrong place.
Are you in Kiddushin?
Yeah, Gimel Dalid.
That's with Rabbi Meir.
Okay, here we are. Okay. What is going on? Okay, Gimel Dalid. Rameya says any condition which is not like the condition of the children of God, and the children of Reuven is not a condition, as it is says. And Moshe said to them, if the children of God and the children of Reuven will cross, and it is written, but they will not cross zealously. But Kanina ben Gamliel says it was necessary for the matter to be stated, because otherwise it is implicit that even in the land of Canaan they shall not inherit. If one betrothed a woman and said, I thought that she was the daughter of a Kohen, and lo, she is the daughter of a Levi, or the daughter of a Levi, and lo, she is the daughter of a Kohen, a poor woman, and lo, she is a rich woman, and lo, a poor woman, she is betrothed because she did not deceive him.
But it's only he, in his mind, he thought, so what did you thought? She didn't give you reason to think that. That's your mistake.
If one says to a woman, you are betrothed to me after I will be converted, or after you will be converted, or after I become freed, or after you become freed, after your husband shall die, or after your sister shall die, after your Yavam shall give you Chalitza, she is not betrothed.
Right. So you understand what he's trying to do over here. He's trying to give a kiddushin in advance for something that hasn't yet happened, and that's kind of like kind of like a davar shelo ba'al olam. It's like, who says that she's going to? Right at this moment, she is not fitting to receive kiddushin because she is married, or because she's not yet Jewish, or he's not yet Jewish. Whatever the case, it's the current action is completely invalid because we don't even know that the condition is going to happen. Okay.
Likewise, if one says to another, if your wife bears a female and she is betrothed to me, she is not betrothed. If the other's wife was pregnant and her fetus was discernible, his words are effective, and if she bore a female, she is betrothed. If one says to a woman, you are betrothed to me on condition that I will speak on your behalf to the ruler, or I work for you like a laborer. If he spoke on her behalf to the ruler, or if he worked for her like a laborer, she is betrothed. If not, she is not betrothed. If he said on condition that father will consent, if the father consented, she is betrothed. If not, she is not betrothed. If the father dies, she is betrothed. If the son dies, they instruct the father to say she does not consent.
Right, so that way, in the last case over here is where you've got the father and the son gives his condition to the woman. Says, just this is on condition that my father consents, and then before they can ask the father, the son dies. So now she's either going to be a widow now, or she's going to be never married if the father doesn't consent. So they say to the father, just say you didn't consent, and then she's still a pnuya, and she's there's no issues with remarrying, or at least that's it.
In this case, at least in the English, it says Abba Shariza Abba, and that Abba in English is capitalized.
Father, yes, the father. He's saying because the man is talking about my father.
Would you normally capitalize? That would be like Hashem's. You were saying father, like Hashem's.
Like when you address, if you called your father, if that was your, some people are very formal about addressing their parents. Father, do you think you would spell that with a capital F? So that's the same. Yeah, absolutely. It's a name. You're calling him by name. If I said Abba, I would spell it with a capital A.
Yeah, I would do that too. I would write Abba in the capital.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think to do that. I'm always thinking that if they say father like that, it's talking about Hashem.
Yeah.
A father in heaven. All right.
Okay.
I'll be right. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great day. I will see you, Hashem, tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.